think she's getting married.
What do you want me to do? Lift up the island so you can sweep under it?
It wouldn't hurt to lock in on it. Check it out, just in case.
The 1970s were supposed to be innocent, a time when kids poured cereal, turned on the TV, and escaped into Saturday morning cartoons. But behind those flashing colors and laugh tracks, something strange was happening. This was the decade when animation got weird. Studios were experimenting with psychedelic art, political satire, and counterculture themes, sometimes by accident, sometimes on purpose. Animators fresh out of the 60s hippie movement brought surrealism, dark humor, and even adult undertones into children's television. And what came out of it was a collection of shows so bizarre, so completely out of step with the times, that networks didn't know whether to laugh or cancel them. Some featured talking cars that joined biker gangs, others mixed rock music with time travel, or monsters forming pop bands in haunted mansions. A few shows even blurred the line between morality and madness, airing for a single season before quietly disappearing into television oblivion. These weren't your typical Saturday morning cartoons, they were fever dreams that accidentally aired for kids. So today, we're diving into the 15 strangest, most unbelievable cartoons of the 1970s. Shows so odd, you'll wonder how they ever made it to broadcast. Before we start, make sure you subscribe to Vintiverse. Hit like, and tell us in the comments which weird retro cartoon from your childhood still haunts your memory. Number 15. Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch, 1974. Imagine a world where cars talk, fight, and fall in love, and not a human in sight. That was Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch, a short-lived Hanna-Barbera experiment that looked like a cute kids show but played out like a fever dream on wheels. The star, Wheelie, was a red Volkswagen Beetle who spoke entirely in honks and beeps, yet somehow had a full romantic relationship with another car named Rotary. Together, they constantly battled a gang of motorcycle bullies called the Chopper Bunch, led by a sneering biker named Chopper. Every episode followed the same strange pattern. Motorcycles mocked the cars, Wheelie outsmarted them using cartoon physics, and everyone laughed in a world that made no sense. There were no humans, no logic, just cars living out a parody of human society, complete with love triangles, races, and revenge plots. Executives thought it would be the next speed buggy, but instead, it confused children and terrified parents. The sound design was bizarre, the humor oddly aggressive, and the idea of a sentient car world before cars was too uncanny for audiences to accept. After just one season, Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch screeched to a halt, a forgotten mechanical nightmare of the 1970s. But in hindsight, it feels like a warning. The era's animation industry was about to take a sharp turn into weirdness, and Wheelie was the first sign that Saturday mornings were no longer safe. Number 14. Mission. Magic. 1973. If you mixed a children's cartoon with a psychedelic rock concert and a time travel sermon, you'd get Mission Magic. A show so bizarre that even its star,
"They're up there, trying to photograph us. They missed and made chunks of the earth."
a young Rick Springfield, later admitted he couldn't believe it was real. In this show, Springfield didn't just sing. He taught kids moral lessons while traveling through alternate dimensions alongside a magical school teacher named Miss Tickle. Each episode began in a classroom, where Miss Tickle would literally draw a magic door on the chalkboard, chant a rhyme, and transport her students, known as the Adventurers Club, into bizarre animated worlds filled with dragons, robots, and groovy guitar riffs. What made it even stranger was its tone. The show tried to blend Saturday morning fun with pop rock music videos and spiritual undertones, often diving into allegories about ego, honesty, and cosmic balance, all sung by Springfield himself. The visuals were drenched in psychedelic colors and kaleidoscopic animation, like a trippy hybrid of Scooby-Doo and Yellow Submarine. Network executives were baffled. Who was this for? Kids didn't understand the philosophy. Adults found it too childish, and the animation looked like a hallucinatory art project. It lasted only 16 episodes before quietly disappearing, but its legacy lingered. Decades later, cult animation fans rediscovered Mission Magic as one of the most experimental shows ever to sneak onto children's TV. Number 13. Speed Buggy, 1973. At first glance, Speed Buggy looked like a safe, formulaic cartoon. Another mystery-solving team, another wacky vehicle. But there was something off about it, something oddly hypnotic.
Wrench! Socket!
The show followed Tinker, Debbie, and Mark, a trio of teens who traveled the country with their talking dune buggy, Speedy. He wasn't just a machine with a voice. He had a full personality, complete with anxiety, jealousy, and bursts of comic panic. He sputtered his words, coughed mid-sentence, and even got insecure when outshined by other vehicles. For a show aimed at kids, it was surprisingly psychological. In every episode, the gang stumbled into absurd scenarios. Kidnapped scientists, robot imposters, stolen inventions, and speed buggies somehow ended up saving the day through slapstick and accident. But what made the show truly strange was its tone. It felt like someone had fused Scooby-Doo with Herbie the Love Bug, then sprinkled in an existential crisis. Behind the fun, Speed Buggy had an eerie undercurrent, a machine desperate to be human, surrounded by people who treated him like both pet and friend. For 1973 audiences, that was confusing. Was Speedy alive? Was he built that way? The show never explained it. Network executives expected a cheerful cartoon about racing. What they got was a weirdly introspective story about sentience, loyalty, and loneliness disguised as a dune buggy comedy. It only ran for one season, but Speed Buggy rolled straight into cult legend, a machine with more personality than most humans on Saturday mornings. Number 12. Inch High, Private Eye, 1973. Now imagine Inspector Gadget, but shrunken down to 1 inch tall. And that's not a metaphor. Inch High, Private Eye was a 1973 Hanna-Barbera cartoon about a detective so small he could sneak anywhere, except into the hearts of viewers. The show followed the pint-sized detective, his niece Lori, her muscle-bound boyfriend Gator, and their dog Braveheart, as they solved crimes for the Pinkerton Detective Agency.
The home of Mrs. Richard Richrich, 329 Easy Street.
Inch High used his size as his superpower, slipping through keyholes and hiding in teacups while shouting orders in a booming, overconfident voice. The concept was undeniably clever, but visually, it was surreal. Characters towered over Inch like giants, yet treated him as if his height was completely normal. The scale often changed mid-scene. The animation flickered between realism and nonsense, and the physics defied all logic. In one episode, Inch High hides inside a villain's pocket for nearly the entire story, narrating from within the coat like a disembodied conscience. Executives thought it would be a hit with kids, but the tone was too bizarre. The voice acting was loud and frantic, the pacing uneven, and the humor landed somewhere between slapstick and absurdity. It didn't help that adults found the tiny detective concept more creepy than funny. After just 13 episodes, the show vanished, but over time, Inch High, Private Eye became a curious cult relic. It's remembered not for its mystery plots, but for how confidently it leaned into chaos. A crime show where the detective literally stood 1 inch tall and somehow still had an ego 10 feet wide. Number 11. The Groovy Ghoulies, 1970. If you ever wondered what would happen if Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman formed a rock band, the Groovy Ghoulies answered that question, and the result was absolute chaos. Produced by Filmation, the same studio behind Fat Albert and He-Man,
Yes, as far as I can.
the Groovy Ghoulies wasn't scary or serious, it was pure monster mayhem wrapped in psychedelic laughter. The show took classic horror icons and turned them into lovable goofballs, who lived together in a haunted boarding house called Horrible Hall. Every episode was packed with bad puns, frantic slapstick, and musical numbers performed by the monsters themselves, complete with flashing lights and nonsensical lyrics that felt like Halloween on acid. But beneath its goofy humor, the show had an oddly anarchic spirit. It mocked television itself, broke the fourth wall constantly, and even included fake commercials for fictional products like Wolfman shampoo. Critics didn't know what to make of it. It was too silly for adults, too frantic for children, and too self-aware for its time. Executives were baffled. What audience was this for? Yet kids who did watch it never forgot it. The combination of monster rock music, haunted house comedy, and surreal animation burned itself into their memories. Number 10. The New Adventures of Gilligan, 1974. You'd think an animated version of Gilligan's Island would be a sure hit, nostalgia, comedy, and familiar characters. But what audiences got instead was a surreal, echoing version of the beloved sitcom that felt like it had been made in a parallel universe. The New Adventures of Gilligan brought back the original cast, minus Tina Louise as Ginger. But something about the show felt off. The animation was stiff, the voices slightly distorted, and the characters behaved more like dream versions of themselves than real people. The island looked brighter, the animals talked, and somehow every episode managed to feel like a feverish loop of deja vu. Gilligan and the skipper still bungled their escape plans, the professor still invented impossible gadgets, and the howl still acted rich in the middle of nowhere, but the humor was hollow, almost haunting. There were no laugh tracks, no real tension, just a ghostly sense that you were watching an imitation of something familiar. Viewers who tuned in out of nostalgia quickly tuned out in confusion. The pacing was slow, the jokes recycled, and even the ocean looked strangely artificial. Network executives tried to revive it with a sequel, Gilligan's Planet. Yes, the cast gets stranded in space, but that only made things stranger. Number 9, Devlin, 1974. In the middle of a decade filled with magical animals and superhero knockoffs, Hanna-Barbera suddenly dropped a cartoon that felt human. Devlin wasn't about aliens or monsters. It was about a motorcycle stunt rider named Ernie Devlin, who risked his life every episode for the cheers of a small-town crowd. He toured with his sister Todd and mechanic Barney, jumping through fire, crashing through walls, and picking himself up again in time for the next moral lesson. And that's what made the show so strange. It wasn't fun or fantastical. It was heavy. Every episode ended with a lesson learned, often about courage, integrity, or family. It felt more like an after-school special than a Saturday morning cartoon. The weirdest part was how Devlin blurred the line between realism and entertainment. The crashes looked too real, the injuries too painful, and the tone too somber for its time slot. Rumors even spread that it was inspired by Daredevil Evel Knievel, though he had no official connection, the resemblance was uncanny. In a world of laughing ghosts and talking animals, Devlin stood alone. A quiet, gritty show about risk, regret, and redemption. It didn't last long, but its sincerity made it unforgettable. A rare cartoon that wasn't afraid to treat kids like adults, and that's exactly why it didn't survive. Number 8, Hong Kong Phooey, 1974. Every decade has that one show that's so strange, it could only have been greenlit in a moment of collective confusion. For the 1970s, that was Hong Kong Phooey. The premise was ridiculous, and somehow, that was its charm.
A good one? A rice patty? Flying dragon kick.
Penrod Penry Pooch, a mild-mannered janitor at a police station, transformed into a masked kung fu hero by jumping into a filing cabinet. Once inside, he'd emerge as Hong Kong Phooey, a robe-wearing, karate-chopping dog who couldn't fight to save his life. Each episode followed him bumbling through crime-fighting attempts while his cat sidekick Spot quietly did all the real work. The show's entire gag was that the hero was completely incompetent, yet always took credit when everything worked out by accident. But what made Hong Kong Phooey truly bizarre was its tone. It mashed up blaxploitation soundtracks, martial arts trends, and slapstick comedy into one psychedelic package. Voiced by legendary actor Scatman Crothers, Phooey spoke with cool confidence, while the show's jazzy funk theme song became an instant classic. Number 7, The Roman Holidays, 1972. What if the Flintstones took place in ancient Rome instead of prehistoric bedrock? That was the pitch for The Roman Holidays, a Hanna-Barbera sitcom so strange that it felt like history's weirdest case of deja vu. The show followed the Holiday family, Augustus, his wife Lori, their kids, and even a pet lion named Brutus, living in a Roman apartment complex. Augustus worked for a temperamental boss named Mr. Tycho at the Forum Construction Company, and every week brought the same formula: misunderstandings, slapstick chaos, and gentle moral resolutions. But what made it truly odd was how closely it mirrored the Flintstones and the Jetsons. But instead of stone cars or flying ones, there were chariots powered by real horses, sundials instead of clocks, and Romanized versions of every modern appliance imaginable. Viewers were confused. Was it parody, homage, or just recycled creativity with a Latin accent? The humor was decent, but the setting made no sense to kids, and the historical references went over their heads. Even the network didn't seem sure how to market it. Number 6. The New Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, 1970. Before cartoons went wild in the 70s, there was one show that opened the door to weirdness.
The royal tailor will come and measure you for your robes.
The New Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. This series dropped Mark Twain's famous trio, Huck, Tom, and Becky, into a surreal hybrid world where they appeared as live-action kids trapped inside animated landscapes. Every week, they were magically transported to new fantasy realms filled with giants, pirates, and witches, trying to find their way back home. The result? A visual experiment that left viewers fascinated and confused in equal measure. You'd see real actors running through drawn jungles, hiding behind animated trees, and talking to cartoon villains who didn't quite look like they were standing in the same universe. It was pioneering, but it was also deeply uncanny. Number 5. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids, 1973. If there was ever a show that perfectly captured the "what were they thinking" spirit of 1970s cartoons, it was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids. Imagine this: a bubblegum pop band that doubles as an international crime-fighting team, a group of teenagers named after two infamous outlaws, traveling the world with a talking dog, solving mysteries between concerts. Every episode followed the same fever dream formula. The band would be performing their latest hit, only to be interrupted by a secret message from their boss via a communicator hidden in their drum set. Next thing you know, they're chasing jewel thieves, dodging lasers, and somehow managing to squeeze in another musical number before the credits roll. The strangest part? The tone. It treated these teens like James Bond-level operatives while still playing bubblegum pop in the background. There was even a computer named Mr. Socrates, a talking machine that gave them their missions, because apparently no human spy boss was weird enough. Number 4. The Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan, 1972. Few shows sum up the "so weird it couldn't happen today" energy of 1970s cartoons quite like The Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan. Loosely based on the old Charlie Chan detective films, the series followed the famous Chinese sleuth and his 10 children as they traveled the world solving mysteries with the help of their family dog, Choo Choo, and their tricked-out family van that could literally transform into different vehicles. Each episode combined mystery, music, and lighthearted family comedy, but the sheer chaos of it all made it feel more like an animated circus than a show. The kids formed a rock band, changed disguises constantly, and seemed to defy the laws of time and geography. What made it even stranger was its cast. Initially, the children were voiced by Asian American actors, but after early episodes aired, CBS executives panicked over accents and ordered them all redubbed by white actors, erasing the authenticity they'd proudly advertised. It was a decision that drew backlash even back then. Number 3. Wait Till Your Father Gets Home, 1972. Before Family Guy, before The Simpsons, and long before anyone dared to put political satire in animation,
Richard Whittaker? Sure, you'll always find her sitting there.
there was Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. And for the 1970s, it was a bombshell. This was Hanna-Barbera's attempt to bring All in the Family to animation, a bold, uncomfortable sitcom about middle-class America told through the eyes of an ordinary dad named Harry Boyle. But Harry wasn't just a cartoon version of Archie Bunker. He was a man trapped between generations, constantly clashing with his liberal son, feminist daughter, and nervous wife. It was the first primetime cartoon to tackle real-world topics like war, politics, and generational divide all under the guise of humor. And that terrified executives. Saturday mornings were supposed to be about cheerful lessons and talking animals, not counterculture debates about the Vietnam era. Each episode peeled back the layers of 1970s anxiety and forced viewers to laugh at what was really going on around them. It wasn't colorful escapism, it was satire dressed up as a sitcom. Number 2, Valley of the Dinosaurs, 1974. When Hanna-Barbera ran out of superheroes and space adventures, they decided to go backward. Valley of the Dinosaurs was the result, and it's still one of the strangest blends of science, survival, and family storytelling ever animated. The series followed the Butler family, John, Kim, Greg, and their dog Digger, who were thrown back in time after a freak whitewater rafting accident. They crash-landed in a prehistoric valley filled with cavemen and dinosaurs, where they had to learn how to survive using primitive tools and sheer ingenuity. But what made this show weird wasn't the premise, it was the tone. It treated time travel like a sociology experiment. The Butlers spent most of their time trying to teach their caveman friends about modern life, electricity, communication, democracy, as if they were rewriting history. Some episodes felt like an animated anthropology lecture, others like a bizarre Flintstones reboot with a moral compass. Number 1, Fantastic Voyage, 1970. Before Microscopic adventures were a movie trend, Fantastic Voyage shrank viewers down to the size of a blood cell and somehow made that idea weirder than anyone expected. Based on the 1966 film, this short-lived cartoon followed the CMDF, a team of scientists who could shrink themselves to microscopic size to battle threats inside the human body. Think Star Trek, but set inside veins, organs, and cells. Each episode took viewers on a journey through surreal, pulsating landscapes that looked more like abstract art than anatomy. The characters piloted a miniature ship called the Voyager, battling viruses, rogue bacteria, and malfunctioning nanobots long before nanotech was even a concept. Executives were thrilled at first. It was science-based, educational, and adventurous. But as the show went on, it got stranger. The visuals became nightmarish, with glowing red arteries, monstrous microbes, and scenes that felt like they belonged in a horror film. Kids were fascinated and terrified. Parents called it too intense, and network censors started cutting scenes for being too biological. It blurred the line between science and surrealism, and that's exactly why it belongs at the top of this list. If you grew up watching any of these forgotten gems, or you just discovered one today, tell us in the comments which cartoon you'd bring back and why. And if you love rediscovering the hidden corners of pop culture, make sure you subscribe to Vintaverse, hit like, and share this video with someone who still believes TV was at its best when it was a little bit weird.